I've been asked a lot why I love Howard Stern so much, and the answer is simple. Nothing has ever made me laugh or smile more in my whole life than his show. I think the first time I ever heard of Howard Stern was in 1993. He was on the Jon Stewart show on MTV, and he was talking about the size of his junk. And he said he was hung like a pit bull. And I remember thinking, why would anyone admit that, especially on TV? And eventually, I started watching the Channel 9 shows whenever I could. Like if I was spending the night at someone's house or if someone had cable. And he always had chicks with bikinis on, so of course I paid close attention. But I never lived in a place where he was actually on the radio. And there was no internet at the time, so there wasn't a whole lot I could do. And then in 1997, I moved to a different state to be with my then girlfriend. And we were together 6 years, and I transferred schools. And 2 days after I got there, she broke up with me because she was in love with her lesbian softball coach. Pig of a softball coach. And I left my job, I left my friends, I moved away, transferred schools. So I went into a 6-month depression. And every day after class I would come home, go to my room, turn off the lights, curl into a ball, and just start bawling and feeling sorry for myself. And there was only one way that I was guaranteed to smile, is if I watched his E! Channel show. It just made everything better. And I knew I would get one real laugh if I watched the show. And I promised myself, if I ever lived in a place where he was actually on the radio, I would listen to him as much as possible. Eventually I moved to Sacramento, and I was so happy because he was on in the mornings, and I listened as much as I could. In 2005, they actually named the channel KHWD at 93.7 in Sacramento for Howard, and he was really, really happy about that. And then he moved to Sirius. Once he was free from the chains that the FCC put on him, the shows just got better and better. It was amazing. I would say the Artie years were the best years, because he was just the funniest guy. He was like a caveman, and he always had the perfect thing to say at the perfect time. I wanted to get a tattoo, and I heard that High Pitch Eric had the fist logo, so that's what I got. Speaking of Eric, I'd say he is my favorite whackpacker. To this day, I don't know if he's an evil genius or an imbecile. He's so disgusting. It's just fascinating to even hear him talk, let alone look at him. But I don't know, I'd say Eric the actor was my second favorite whackpacker, and I messaged him a few times on MySpace, and just asking questions, and I asked him if he had a special phone number that he could call in to get right on the show, and he said yes. And I told him how awesome it was, how much Howard loved him, and I was eventually going to try to be friends with him because he lived in the next town over from me, but he didn't fly around the studio with balloons like Howard wanted him to. So I got mad one day, and I called him a bad word, and I said that I'm sorry I ever wanted to be his quote-unquote friend, and I still feel bad to this day. So, sorry, Eric. I love hearing Medicated Pete on the air, just to hear his struggles with women and existing in general. I feel bad for the guy, but it's just radio gold. I love King of All Blacks also. And it's hard for me to listen to JD because he unfortunately reminds me so much of myself. It makes me sick. I'm still a loyal listener to the show. If I go more than a day without listening to it, I feel really horrible. And the show has definitely changed over the years since I've listened to it. There aren't as many porn stars and strippers on. He just interviewed Hillary Clinton about a month ago, and so ever since Artie left, the show has gotten a little more serious. I mean, it's still funny, and I'll never stop listening to it, but it's definitely changed, and sometimes I actually have to turn the channel, not just when Marianne from Brooklyn or Bobo are on. I don't get them either. I went to the Killers of Comedy show a few years ago, and I met Gary the Conqueror. I saw Casey, the Reverend Bob Levy, Craig Gass was there, Jim Florentine was there, Yucko was there, Eric the actor made an appearance, and I actually got to meet Shuley, talk to him for about 20 seconds. He was really, really cool. I think I told him I loved him. He said, "Thanks for coming out." Meeting Richard Christie was the highlight, though, because he's so funny. I think the hardest I've ever laughed at the show was a phony phone call he made when he was Ethel Mertz, and she was throwing up or something and kept calling a drugstore and using that porn star sound. I was literally rolling on the floor, crying from laughter. Well, I'm definitely a lifetime fan. I'll never stop listening, even though sometimes I have to turn the station a few times because I don't agree with everything that's going on. It's still what he wants to do, and that's good enough for me. I mean, if I ever met him, I don't know what I would do. How do you thank someone who's made you laugh and smile so much over the years? I don't know. But hey, thanks for taking the time to watch my video, and I'll see you next time.